Alright, we're going to get started here in just a minute. I'm going to mic check for those of you guys in Discord today. Looks like we've got a few of you. Most of the usuals, it seems like, are going to be watching the stream at a later date, so I don't think I have as many people in Discord today. It looks like I've got a couple. So we're just getting everything set up with people in Discord, and then we'll start the stream today. So the plan, of course, is to initiate our prop modeling phase, and our intention there is to sweep through some of the core modeling principles in creating some assets. And in doing so, we're going to learn various tools. We're going to learn how to edit with the UVs, how to work with high polygons and sub-D modeling, how to work with extrusions. Pretty much most of the core Maya principles. So I sent out images to everyone, which are in the Curriculum Vitae channel, and we're actually going to use those images today. So if you are here in Discord right now, make sure you have those images saved. Those are going to come in handy as far as building out our first asset. I do not claim credit for these images. These images are from Blizzard. They pertain to one of their characters from the Overwatch series. So right now we are in Photoshop, actually, not Maya. We're actually just going to pop open a few of these images really quick. These 3 images that we sent out, just to show you guys what exactly it is that we're doing with our time. These are just a couple of image shots of the Soldier 76 weapon. This is what we are going to go for at some point. Of course, this is going to take a little bit of time. As you look at this, it's a pretty complex gun. With that being said, we're going to start slow. We're going to start on very basic functions of this piece first, before we really get into anything too complex. And as we progress across this gun, what we're going to be doing is understanding some basic modeling. We're going to take some of the pieces, we're going to look at the UVs for them, and we're also going to kind of take a look at how we're adding in detail for the high polygon of the mesh. So we're going to start with the back end of the weapon and kind of work our way around it. I kind of have to plan around too how I'm going to approach the gun. Even now, I still kind of have to figure out what exactly it is that I'm doing half the time, but you learn. So now we're going to pop back over to Maya. So let me switch my stream channel. Back over to Maya. Okay. So I've saved my file as the S76 gun. So I have a clean slate. Nothing in this scene file right now. And I'm going to create some planes. Stuff we went over before. So I'm going to click on my shaded, but then I'm going to click on my textured, which is that little ball over there near the shaded view. You'll notice that nothing happens right now for it. So I'm going to right click for my radial dial and assign a new material onto this plane. You'll have a lot of materials that'll show up. I have a bunch more because I have some shaders for Project Sanzar that are built into my Maya right now. So I have a long list of them, and we're just going to assign a Lambert. A Lambert is basically a flat shaded material, so we don't get any specular on it. Not that it matters, we don't really have any light in here. Now what we're going to do with this is we're just going to look at the color, which the color is the first attribute here at the top for this shader. And you're going to see a little checkered box over on the right, and we're just going to go ahead and click that, and it'll pop open a window that's labeled Create Rendered Node. And in this, you'll see a lot of options. I don't know if my stream will pick up opening new windows. It's a little odd like that. So let's see. Nope, it doesn't. But you should see the window for Create Render Node. And about the fourth one down, you're going to see File. And we're just going to go ahead and click on File, which over here in our attribute editor, there is a folder. Yeah, it's Garden. I know it's not going to show the pop-ups. We might take a look at doing a different stream if it doesn't do it, but if you are missing the element, just let me know. But here in the attribute editor, over on the right, we have a new file, which is going to be called File 1. And over here in the middle, you're going to see it's a blank spot for image and a little icon for a folder. And we're just going to go ahead and click that, which is going to pop open your file navigator. So those images that were sent out, we're going to go find those images. In this case, the first one I'm going to pick is the multi-angle of the Soldier 76 gun. And now it's looking at the image name, but you'll see in my perspective the image is all everywhere. There's not including the full image. It's okay. Don't worry about that yet. As long as you guys have the image linked in there, that's what matters. So I'm going to step off for a second and see if my Discord people are doing okay. Have you guys linked in your image onto your plane? Are you able to do that pretty easily? Did I lose you somewhere? Maybe, I don't know. Where'd everyone go? They all disappeared. Okay. Well, since no one is responding, Squishy and Garden are both. Okay. Alright, I'll see if they have any issues that pop up. And we'll just kind of trek along further. Oh, I see someone typing. Okay, Garden. I mean, if you want me to slow down, so that you can follow along, we can slow it down a little bit. But since you're just watching, that's okay. I will just keep going. So you see in your viewport, you have this plane with a picture attached now. Now, when you look at this picture in Photoshop, swap over to scene 3. Let's see, is it showing my gun in C3. Yes. So you see this gun and how this picture looks in Photoshop, but when we take a look at it in Maya right now, it's been cut off. It's relatively askew from its original standpoint. We're going to have to adjust the UV coordinates on that, and this is going to be our first kind of small introduction on UVs. It's going to be very brief, so that's okay. We're going to go into Window UV Texture Editor, which is going to pop up open a new window. Let's see if I can get that correct in my stream. Yep, okay. So this window on the right is our UV Texture Editor. And you'll see just, you may see the image, you may not see the image, you may only see one image. It depends on your settings. Mine's currently tiled. But up here at the top, if you go into Image, and you just want to click Display Image, and that'll show up the texture that you linked in there. Now, right now you can't see your UV proximity, but up here at the top there is a button in your shelf of your UV texture editor that's toggle shaded UV, which is going to show you your UV proximity. So now you see this blue shaded area in the UV window that's showing you exactly what you're seeing in the viewport. So if we were to control, let's see, just right click and hold right click to your radial dial in the UV texture editor, you'll get edge, vertex, face, and UV. And we actually just want to select UV right now so that we can actually select this object's UV system. I'm right now just drag selecting it, and you'll notice it's a little hard to see in the textured, so I should turn off my image to show you. I'm selecting and dragging, and there's these points that are highlighting green on the corners. These are usually associated with the vertexes, but we're actually grabbing the UVs. And I'm going to select the top ones and press W, same as my 3D movement system, and just drag these upward. So now you'll see we have the full image displayed on our plane over here. But of course it's a little squished, and we're going to have to fix that, the ratio of it. But we've at least adjusted the UVs for this so that it's in the 0 to 1 space. So I'm going to minimize my UV texture editor, swap back over to scene 1 on my stream. So now you can see in my 3D viewport this plane that we've put out here actually has the full image now. So I'm going to grab this object's vertex, which I did by right click and dragging the radial dial. I'll point out that radial dials are right click drags a few more times today, but at some point I'll probably stop explaining that I'm using the radial dial. Should be used to it at some point. We went over it a little bit. So I grabbed the vertex on my plane just with the drag select. I press W for my translating, and now I'm just going to pull this up a little bit. So now this is about the ratio, and you can usually check. So this is pretty circular. I'd even actually shrink this down maybe just a little bit this way, and you can hop back to your Photoshop to take a look at, okay, if it looks like that in Photoshop, how should I adjust accordingly in the 3D viewport? I'm actually going to drag select it up a little bit and stretch it up just a tiny bit. And now we have an image that's displayed our gun that we're going to be kind of messing around with today. So I'm actually going to show you this in the different perspectives. So I'm going to go into panel layout, which is over on your far left of your interface, or if you're in a newer version of Maya, it still should be over on the left somewhere. But this is going to show us our multi-perspectives. So you'll notice in the top left right now is the top perspective, which is we're going to be using a lot in regards to modeling based on reference imaging. So I'm going to go ahead and select shaded, and then go ahead and select textured. So now you can see the texture, and I'm going to turn off the grid in here, which is another one of those buttons up in the shelf of the viewport. So now we have just a top-down image of the gun that we're modeling. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually just going to create a couple of different planes in here for reference. It helps to have a couple of different angles just when you're kind of modeling to get an idea of what exactly it is you're modeling. So I press Control D, which duplicates, and then I'm just dragging this out there. I'm going to select this right plane, and I'm going to assign a new material to it. Same process, right click drag to the radial menu, and then I select Lambert. I'm going to go over in my attribute editor and click the little checkered box, which is going to pull up my render node. I'm going to select File, go into Image Name, and I'm going to select this perspective image of the Soldier 76 gun. It's already got its UVs pretty much situated, and it looks like its aspect ratio is pretty on point with its original state. This third image, I'm going to assign its new material Lambert, color, file, image, and then I'm going to select the third one, which is just an outline of the soldier gun. This image is a little skewed, so I'm going to scale it up a little bit. And I'm going to go into my top-down perspective. So I see these three images that I have right now. And I'm actually just going to scale some of these to where they are rough proximity of each other. So in this case of this right image, this is about where it needs to be. I'm going to move this over here. And let's see, scale that a little bit that way. This is just in case we move an object from its, where we're going to be modeling it, to another point, so we can actually see contrast-wise between different angles. Now, for this, I actually just went to Google and typed in Soldier 76 gun and went into the images. I'm actually going to pull just a couple of more references so you guys can see kind of like an in-game model of it. I'm going to go ahead and save that image. And I'm going to save that image too. So we've got two more images, and I'm actually not going to scale these. These are going to be pure reference points. So I did Control D to duplicate that as well. Control D again, and I'm going to assign new Lambert shaders to both of these. I'm not going to explain out that process again. It's pretty simple and straightforward at this point. I'm going to scale this outward a little bit. Assign a new material to this one. File. Folder. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I have multiple images to kind of refer to at this point when I'm kind of modeling from different angles and everything. It's nice to have all these different angles so that you can keep point of your reference. If you're trying to duplicate something, seeing it from different perspectives gives you an idea when you're doing more depth modeling. So we have all these images, and I'm actually going to call out attention to the hypershade window right now. We briefly mentioned the hypershade window, which is in Window Rendering Editors, Hypershade. So if you want to go ahead and open that, I'm going to switch over my channel to Scene 2. So you'll see this hypershade window next to my UV editor. Hypershade window is on the left. This is essentially your depot of materials. Now, it'll show you these basic little spheres with your material wrapped around it. So we have all of these different Lamberts that we assigned. Hypershade's useful for quick referencing materials. One of the nice functions in here is you can actually select stuff with this material, and it'll automatically select like faces of everything around there, so you can like reassign to a new material per se. So if you ever have a complex object that has multiple materials and you ever want to change the materials, assign them to a blend or to anything new, you can do it through the hypershade. We're not going to use this too much. It's more of a nice function for render nodes, a lot of different aspects. If I have a large scene file with many textures, like let's say I have my my asylum scene from the Halloween ride for A Second Life. In that scene, there was like 12 different materials total between all of the prop objects, the walls, floors. I mean, it was a relatively large scene, and I needed to start reallocating textures. It was easy for me to pull individual faces through here and mess with them. It's also helpful if you ever import objects and you get clones of materials, you can go ahead and reassign them through here as well. I just wanted to call out attention to that, but I'm going to switch back over to my scene file, and we're not going to worry about the hypershade window for the time being. So now we have all our planes. That's good. We're going to start focusing on just some modeling aspects. Now we're going to start pretty basic. And I believe we're going to start with the back end of things. I'm going to go into, actually I'll keep in my 3D perspective. We're going to start with some just really basic plane modeling right now. So we're going to look at this back end piece over here, right? I'm going to drag out a plane for my general proximity. You'll notice it's double layered on that, so I'm going to select it up so that it's currently above my plane. Now, when we're modeling, obviously trying to model over something that we can't see through is a little difficult. So when you look at the top perspective right now, it's basically a solid plane. So I'm going to go ahead and assign it a new material. I'm going to assign it a Lambert. And in my color, I'm going to select the color swatch itself just by clicking it, and it's going to bring up a wheel. So I'm going to assign it a bright red material. And then right below the color, I'm going to drag this transparency bar over to the right. So I'm dragging it to probably about 70% right now. And you'll notice as I drag it over, it's becoming more white. Pretty much normal laws of transparency there. So now this plane that we've got is a red highlighted area, but it's translucent, so we can see the image plane below it. There is another option up here. It's called X-ray mode. This is in your window shelf itself. Now what X-ray mode does is kind of turns things into a semi-translucent state. So if I were to have a different plane in here that was just the regular Lambert, you'll see in the top-down perspective, if I turn on X-ray mode, the plane is translucent like we just did with a different material. However, it's not as noticeable, I think, as creating a separate shader, at least in my opinion. And X-ray mode, I don't tend to like the dark side of it. It doesn't show as well when you're looking at your image itself. So when you see we're not in X-ray mode, the image is really bright, and lines pop a bit better. So I tend to stay with using a translucent material. It's a preferential thing. You can use it either way, doesn't matter. So we have our plane, and I'm just going to right click, move some of these vertexes closer to their proximity right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and just move this edge back to here so we're lined up. So the first thing I do is I'm actually just going to do some edge loops. So I'm going to use my insert edge loop tool that we pointed out last week, and I'm going to go ahead and drag to a point here. For you people who don't have it on your shelf, again, this is insert edge loop tool up in your edit mesh. Pretty easy. And the second one, I'm just going to add in a second edge loop over here. So now we've got two edge loops lined up. I'm going to right click again, go back into my edge mode of my objects, and select this one up here. Press W to translate, and I'm just going to move this right over to there. Pretty easy, right? It's simple. So now we're starting to get a little bit of mock-up of this shape right now. And then I'm going to extrude out this edge. And it's up on my shelf as well, extrude out selected components. It's for you, it's in edit mesh. Now that just brings out my edge to here. So we're starting to get a little bit of shape happening here, right? Okay, cool, great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my vertexes. I'm just going to start moving some of these points around. So I'm going to move this point here. Now we want this top line to be perfectly straight, and we just moved an individual vert, so it's kind of, it's off kilter from its other point here. What we're going to do is actually grab this vert, and we're going to turn on snapping, which is up here towards the top, right below your create and edit UVs. We're going to snap by points. I'm just going to turn this into a different little indicator. Now, if you drag just the point by itself, it's going to snap to anything. Now, we don't want it to necessarily do that, so we're actually just going to click on the one axis and snap it towards the top. Now, you'll notice if we try to move that point individually to this point right here, it's not going to work, because it's going to want to snap to the closest vertex point that it's aligning with. In this case, we're just going to turn off snap, and let's remove this point up to here. You'll notice I'm trying to work with as few points as possible. I try and maintain this rule constantly. The less verts you're working with and blocking out a shape, the better. It's just a bit more helpful when you're trying to create something basic. Okay, so now I have a general shape, and it looks like we're going to go down here and add one more edge loop to this point. You'll notice that when I created an edge loop, it did not create it straight this time, and that's because it's basing it off of an average between these verts and these verts. So I'm going to grab the edge and I'm just going to scale it on its singular axis. And you'll notice I'm dragging the indicator into the center. This is actually flattening out that line. Eventually, this will become immovable. That means the line's perfectly flat. So now I have a flat line here. Let's see. And I've got two other points here and here. I'm going to insert edge loops again, and then I'm going to drag out these points. I'm going to select these and move these down a little bit, and I'm just going to move that here. Okay, so now we've got a completely kind of shaped out plane of this object. Now, when you look at perspective-wise for this, you'll notice it's not just flat. This inner part is flat, and then it bevels out towards the center. So you've got a lot of different angle cuts going on here. And that's okay. We'll get to that point. So what I'm actually going to do is select all of my faces. I'll look at this again. I am just going to extrude inset this whole thing a little bit, and then I'm going to move my points again. Now, this is all askewed, so we're going to have a lot of moving to do, but that's fine. Don't worry about that. But you'll notice in here, we have, it's still flat. However, when we extruded a plane like this, we actually have created it into a 3D. So it created bottom faces as well. Now, for the sake of doing this, because we're going to mirror this object later, I'm just going to delete these bottom faces out so that we're only looking at it from this perspective. It has a top, but not a bottom. And again, that's because we're going to mirror that later, so don't worry about it. Now I'm going to just go back in here and clean up my edges a little bit. So I'm going to move them around so that I'm mimicking this inside surface. Just getting all of these edges lined up. Moving some edges. This is really exciting, I know. Try to keep calm. Don't get too excited. Keep calm and shuffle verts. Every day I'm shuffling. Okay, so now we have an inside face, which is close to this inside proximity. Okay, cool. Don't worry about this right here just yet. I will show you how to make that contour in just a few. So, got this. This is exciting, I know. Now, where are we going to take it from here? So you see in here, we have some nice beveled edges. We've got an inset in here. So what I'm going to do now is actually duplicate down this particular edge. So if I were to, let's say if I were to grab that whole outer loop, this looks like it's maybe dragged down just a bit further. So I'm gonna drag it down about here. But this, drag it here. So we've got, actually I'll adjust that later. I'm going to select this whole edge loop and I'm going to extrude it down. I selected that whole edge loop by double clicking, by the way. That's pretty simple. So now we've got another additional ring of polygons over here. We're starting to get this object into a bit more of a 3D space. Pretty simple. Now this piece individually kind of does go up a little bit, so I'm just going to drag that face up to where in this perspective it looks like it's just a bit closer here. Everything else looks relatively straightforward. So okay, and we're still only concerning ourselves with half of it. And that's okay. Don't worry about it too much. We're going to mirror it later. Actually, you know what? I think we're at a good point to mirror it. I do want to talk about, is for the sake of low polygon modeling, you'll see that there's a lot of unnecessary edges right now. So when you have a flat face like this, the fact that there are edge loops dividing that face is creating unnecessary polygons. If we were just creating a low polygon version of this, we would be worrying about condensing those edges down. But since we're actually going to be taking this piece into a high polygon piece, at the current moment we're going to leave those as they stand. So I'm actually going to drag this up now, and I'm going to go ahead and go into mesh, and I'm going to mirror this geometry. I'm going to press the square so that I can actually open up the mirror options. You'll notice we have a bunch of different mirror directions. Right now it looks like the z-axis is up and down, so I'm going to mirror it on the negative z, which is going to create a equal piece of geometry. Now these two pieces right now are separate from me because I didn't merge with the original. Merging with the original basically just glues the verts together. I prefer to do this separately. So right now if I were to go into face and I was to double click, you'll see that it's only selecting one shell of it, so that they're both individual shells. So I'm going to select both. I'm actually going to grab all the verts for it, and I'm going to weld my verts, merge vertices. So I have a polymerge vert, and I have a controllable distance that I can separately control outside of the mirror options. So now you'll see if I go into face, it's all one shell, which is what we want. So let's take a look. So we've got this piece back here now. Pretty straightforward. I'm just going to look at its different perspectives just to see how I like it. And I think it's generally working. I'm actually going to assign it now oh, no, wait, actually, we'll leave it that way for right now, because there's one other thing. You'll notice, as I pointed out a little earlier, there's this curve right here going on, but we have a sharp edge. Now, there's different ways to handle this. We could go in and start actually adding the edge loops. You'll notice that it goes all the way around the objects, and we could pull the verts, not that one. So now we're getting a little bit more control there. Let's say if we were to add another one on top of that, and we were to control that one, we could smooth it out even more. And this is a nice way to keep our edge flow constant. So we have a little bit of a curve there. What I'm going to show you actually is I'm going to double click that edge So you'll see actually in 3D perspective it's grabbing that whole proximity across. And I'm going to do a bevel. This is for you in Edit Mesh, and we're going to go into bevel. So now you'll notice it's split this ring essentially into 2 pieces. Now if we were to go into the attribute editor, you'll see that, and over here we'll have a node for our poly bevel, and our poly bevel has an offset, which is the distance. So if we were to drag that down, you'll see it shrink down. Let's say we were to, and actually before I modify this, I'm going to save this, because sometimes poly beveling likes to screw with me, and I don't like it when it does. So let's say I up the segments. You'll see it's subdividing that out a little bit. Let's say if I up the offset a little bit more, you'll notice I have a nice little curve to it. For the sake of keeping this low right now, I'm going to leave that at just 3 segments and keep it like that, but I'm going to move these back ends just a little bit, just like that. I'm going to flatten out these so that they're matched up, like that, so that all the verts are lined up there. Actually, I think I will grab that, move that. Okay, so now we have a nice little curved edge there, which is now here's the downside. Obviously, when you did that, it's created an end gone. So you'll see there's this polygon right here that has multiple faces, more than 4 faces, so end gone. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we can go in and we can fix that. And I'm actually going to go ahead and assign this a new material because we have it cloned to our plane. So I'm going to assign it actually a Blinn this time, not a Lambert. And you'll understand why when we start doing the high polygon stuff. In the color, I'm gonna click the color, so it brings up the swatch, and I'm gonna click the little dropper, which actually lets me select a color in here. In this case, I selected the color in the image, which pulled this kind of brownish shader to it. And I'm actually going to do that for the specular too. I'm going to pull this kind of blue shaded color a little bit. So now you'll see we actually have a shader that's close to this down here, which is cool. It's just helpful. So we have a solid object now, so you can actually see what I'm going to do a little better. I'm going to connect this point all the way around. Now, of course, this plane is blocking my view from the under part. I'm going to select my Isolate Select tool, which is in your viewport here. We're just going to pop that open. So now you actually only see this object, which is great. You could divide this out in just one way and remirror it. For the sake of showing you guys the split polygon tool, I'm just going to leave it mirrored right now. So if you go in and select in your Edit Mesh, it's your interactive split tool. For me, it's on my bar here. My magnet tolerance is pretty high right now, so you'll see it snapping to points pretty easily. So I'm going to start from this point right here, and I'm going to go around. You wouldn't normally do this if you were just doing a low polygon, but we're going to be turning this into a sub D model, so we need to maintain edge flow pretty well so we can actually sharpen our edges, and you'll understand this here in a bit. I'm going to turn down my magnet tolerance now that I have my first point. so that I'm not snapping to the edges. And I'm just gonna go around here, and this is going, and I'm gonna up my magnet tolerance so that I snap to this point. So we just have an edge. That apparently this happens sometimes. It breaks polygons. I don't really understand why it does this in Maya. It just does. Let's see if I can't. Yep, and it's doing it again. Oh, I love it when it does this. Let's see if I can. I'm going to connect these verts. Let's try that again. I connected those verts, by the way. So when this starts happening, I just start getting some tries in here. So I'm going to connect these points too. And I just use my connection tool. For you, it's in Edit Mesh, and it's Connect Components. Sometimes this helps fix it. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why Maya does this. I don't know. That's one of the things that I am not familiar with. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and delete these now, now that I've got my edge flow around it. So you can see why insert edge loop and dragging things might be a little easier. The only reason we're having to do this extra step is because we're turning this into a sub-D model. So a little different. Now another way to do this, if we were to edge loop that whole thing and then actually deselect that part of it, delete this, we could go in and just connect these verts here. Say we were to do that again. Insert edge loop. Deselect these, and we're going to delete edge vertex for those. That for you is in here, and it's delete edge vertex. And we're just going to click the verts, connect them out. I press G to just repeat a command, and then we're going to delete these. Perfect. Now we have only polygons, clean edge loops. So this whole object, there's no tries, there's just 4-sided faces, which is good because I'm going to show you guys what sub-D modeling is. Now, right now this is in its basic form. I'm actually going to go into normals, and I'm going to set to face. So when you set to face for normals, it's just pushing out all the faces outward. We'll discuss normals a bit more later, so don't worry too much about them right now. I'm going to select these edge loops, and I'm actually just going to soften the normals, which is here in normals, soften edge. So you'll notice now, after that, it's not hard edged anymore right there. So we have this really basic object, and this is low polygon. So this is we were going to display heads-up display poly count. Right now, this is 114 faces. If this was our in-game model, this would be less because we wouldn't have like this edge loop. These would all be merged down. I'm actually going to delete this edge loop here because it's not needed at this point. So we're at 92. So if let's say we were doing an in-game model, I would snap these edges inward to here. Then I would snap like these verts into here. Let's do that for the same for the bottom. I'm going to undo this here in a second. I'm just showing you guys for the sake of showing you right now. about condensing. Now you see we're still at 92. It's okay, so I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna select all those verts, and I'm just gonna weld them. So now all of a sudden we're at 79. And we would do the same thing over here because this is a flat face. So if it's just a straight line like this, there's no actual contouring or shaping going on. We would just condense all those verts down. Now I'm gonna press Control Z a bunch, and I'm gonna undo all of that shenaniganry that just happened. So again, we're back to our multi-phases. Now I'm going to show you guys what subdivision is, and this is going to be the last thing we're going to go over today. On your numbers, we're going to press 2, and you'll notice this object smoothed out, but we're still seeing an outer wireframe. Now, what we're looking at is the smooth subdivision. So if you were to go to Mesh Smooth, which actually I'll go back to 1 and I'll show you. Let's say I just duplicated this out. If I were to go into Mesh and smooth it out right now, this is what it would look like. So you'll notice I'm actually going to press 3 now, and that's going to go in a full smooth without the skeleton wireframe that's showing you what the original state looks like. So this is essentially that, but it's that without actually smoothing the geometry. So the geometry is still the same. In this case, this is geometry we've already smoothed. You would have to delete out that component. Now I'm going to show you guys. So again, original state is in this wireframe, and then 3 is the fully smoothed out version. So this is the difference between 2 and 3. So I'm going to delete this, and we're going to press and go into 3 with this. So obviously, for a high polygon state, we don't want this weird blob of nonsense. I'm going to press Control D, and I'm going to get a duplicate of this object. I'm going to go over into my layer selection, and I'm going to create a new layer in here. And I'm just going to call this LoPo, which is my terminology for low polygon. I always say LoPo and hypo. I don't know why. I just do. And I'm actually going to go into is it T? No. Oh, you have to add selected objects. So I've added that in there. Now you'll see when I have this other one, I actually can't select this one anymore. It's now just a reference point for me. I'm going to go ahead and press 3 for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert edge loops. And this high polygon state, I'm going to start defining to it where it is I actually want this thing to sharpen itself. So I'm going to select some edges here. No, don't be rude. So you'll notice now with that new edge loop, that surface part of it sharpened up a little bit. So let's say on these edges, I want it to sharpen here. Now we're starting to get some of its shape back for some of the harder edge parts of it. So we're just continuing to drag some edge loops. There's a different way to do this by defining the angles. Something we may go over later, but I'm not too particularly worried about it right now. I'm going to keep dragging. I'm defining out all of my hard edge areas, right? Now for some of these, they line up a little weird. In this case, I'm actually going to sharpen that by moving the verts myself down just a little bit. Let's see, let's go back in a 3. Do I need to define this edge? That's a good question. Let's go into X-ray. That looks like it's a little curved there, so that's okay. We don't need to redefine that edge more than it already is. Let's see, keep going and sharpening more edges. I'm going to go up here, sharpen this edge, sharpen that edge. Now it looks like everything that, well, I guess we could probably sharpen these. Let's define that, let's define that, define that there, define that there, define that there. Okay. Now, weird stuff happens, like that, which, actually, I guess we'll just go in and define that there. That's fine. When I did that, and that actually sharpened up that edge, which I don't necessarily want, but it fixed that weird bend that was happening there. So if I were to go in, let's pop open the top perspective. Let's go back to 1. If I were to go in and manually pull, so if we were looking at 3, and I were to manually go back in and pull these verts here away from that edge, you'll notice it's curving it out a little bit more, which is closer to what I wanted. So now we have this object, and this is in its high polygon state. So if you were to smooth it now, this is what it essentially would smooth out to, rather than that monstrous blob that we had before. So let's go ahead and in 3, this is actually smoothed twice. So this is what the actual geometry for 3 state would look like. So you'll see they're the same now, except that's actual physical geometry. So you're at 8,100 faces versus right now this is just 510 faces. And I'm actually going to go ahead and delete that. But now we have this piece here that resembles our soldier, the back end of that gun. So pretty easy, right? Well, hopefully. Maybe not. I don't know. That's good. That's a good question. This is about as basic as it gets. But I've kept this in the same area as the low polygon, and you'll understand that later for baking. Sometimes I don't duplicate out the object, I forget. Then it's just a matter of duplicating it from its high polygon state and deleting out the edge loops that we used to define it. Deleting out all the extraneous geometry. So I'm going to create another layer, and I'm actually just going to label this hypo. And we can go ahead and actually add that as a reference as well. So you'll see it's in there. Oh, we have to add selected objects again. As a reference, it stays solid, but is not selectable. So when you have it in T, it's just the wireframe. So what we're seeing is the LOPO, we're seeing the wireframe of the low polygon object, and in hypo, we're just seeing just the reference of the piece we modeled. Pretty easy and straightforward. Now, we'll go over, actually, I guess we'll go over one last thing in here for today, which is high polygon information, details, like this little guy here. Now, you would naturally assume that we would actually have to model that into this high polygon piece right now, which is not true. When you're baking things, you can actually keep them separate from the object and it will bake into the normal map. So for extraneous detail like this, instead of modeling it into this and mucking up the geometry even more, I'm actually just going to create a cylinder for this kind of thing. And let's go into the top perspective with this. I'm going to take this vert here. I'm going to snap it to that. And then snap that to that. So we've got some flat edge. I'm going to grab all of these verts, and I'm just going to drag them out. Drag out these other ones here. If you wanted it to be precise from each other, we could delete out half of it. And actually, I'm going to drag these out just a little bit more. Not that far. We could go in mesh mirror geometry. It looks like we're on, what, the positive X. So it splits it evenly. I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these faces, and I'm going to extrude them. And I'm going to scale this whole thing inward just a little bit, just like that. So I'll show you what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these lower information parts. So this is actually just a flat plane right now. I don't know why. Oh, you know why? I forgot to merge my verts. If you forget to merge verts, like a smart person, just go ahead and weld them. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna undo all of that. I'm gonna go back to this state because I messed that up. I'm gonna merge my verts again from that state. Go in here. I'm gonna extrude. I'm gonna scale this inward. So we've got that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and delete all this lower information. I'm gonna select these interfaces, and I'm just gonna extrude them down. Since this is a high polygon piece, I'm only gonna worry about it. So I'm actually going to drag it down just a tiny bit to define that edge. I'm gonna drag it down even more to go down a little bit, and I'm gonna drag it down again to define that edge. That's just another way of getting those edge loops. And then I'm going to just define this outer edge. So now you'll see I have a shape that's resembling this little piece over here. Actually, I'm going to go back in. I'm going to delete this edge loop right now, and I'm going to bevel this one a little bit more so we have a bit more of a pronounced edge there, which will bake into the normal a little better. I'm going to go back into... why are you being difficult? Oh. Sometimes it freezes up like this, and it... if this happens where your thing is delaying and it's not showing up the menu, this is basically where we would add a restart in here and just refresh Maya. Since we're at the end of the course, I'm not going to bother. So now I'm going to press 3 on this thing again, and I'm going to assign it that blend that we made by going in and assigning existing material. So we have this essentially little detail piece, right? We could go in, delete this edge loop, and we could bevel this bottom edge, which gives us even more detail when we're talking about the final bake. Let's see. So now when we look at the rounded version of this, we get even more from, because you're going to be looking at it only from the top perspective, right? I'm going to go ahead and drag this edge out just a little bit more so I know where this piece is sitting. I'm going to go into my top perspective, and I'm just going to go ahead and line it up with this angle. So I have my snap on, so right now it's sitting at precisely a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to shrink this down to where we're close to this. And I'm going to go back to my scale settings, and I'm going to do it by its object size. Scale it out this way a little bit, move it around. So right now we're at a nice clean angle for it. And then, so now we'll drag this up. And we have this detail here now. I'm actually going to scale it so it's a little bit deeper. So if you were to look at this from the top, I'm actually going to turn off my low polygon. Now you'll see there's this nice little detail in here. And it's blending in right now. So when you have the normal for this thing, this detail will bake into the normal. Now, it's separate, and that's okay. And we're gonna go over the idea of baking with cages. So this will kind of make sense later. So just kind of pretend like it's part of that object, and you'll just be happy with it. Okay. I actually missed some edge loops on this, so I'm going to go in. I'm just going to define these a little bit more. So that's actually a little bit sharper now. That was bugging me. Did I miss that one too? Yeah, we'll do that. Cool. So that's a little bit more sharp now too. So I'm going to go ahead and just mirror this down. Looks like we're off the -Z. I'm going to go ahead and select the whole of the face and just move it to the other side of this. If it's not a little floating above the object, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Okay, so you guys have essentially gone through the first basic piece of modeling. We talked about insert edge loops, split polygons, extruding. We talked about sub-D modeling. We talked about adding extraneous detail, creating a low polygon version. Today we looked a little bit at the UV system. We looked a little bit at the material system. So there's a little bit of everything in here today. Now, we might have gone quick on some of the interface stuff. That's because we've kind of touched on most of that stuff in the earlier lessons. But you guys are on your way. This is the first piece of Maya modeling. And again, if you have any questions, just message me on Discord or Slack for the people who are watching. That's it for today. Next class, we'll be going over more modeling. We'll be progressing through this gun piece by piece. I might go in and actually start doing some of the modeling separately from the class so that I at least have planned out what exactly it is that I'm doing instead of just winging things. But who knows, maybe winging things is a better way for me to do. I think that's it to cover for that little piece. In that case, everyone have a wonderful day, and thank you guys for watching lesson number 3 of the Maya class sessions. Bye.